Alright, so today I'm going to teach you how to pack your skydive parachute. If you're new, if you're trying to get a refresher, this is the video for you. I'm going to go super slow. It's going to be a POV, so follow along and enjoy. Alright, so first things first, stow your brakes. I cannot repeat this over and over again, right? The brakes, the top brake is going to go through your eyelet, and then the eyelet is going to stow on that top piece. And if you have squirrel parachute, then the bottom piece goes here. Otherwise, there is a metal rod that you normally stick there. Okay, so we're going to do that for both sides. I like to have my brake lines on the outside here, and then my eyelet coming in on the inside, and I'll show you why in a moment. But I'm going to get these stowed. I'm going to give them nice little tension. And take this excess and I'm going to put this in the back, and that's the reason why I usually stow that way, because it's nice and easy for my excess to be stowed. Alright, do that for this side too. Cool. Alright. Next thing, we're just going to make sure that the rig is ready to be packed. So, of course, we want to be making sure that we have our 3 rings on both sides. Those are set up on the rig, and that the risers are not twisted by any means, okay? Before we even get into specifically going down and getting them, I'm just going to run the lines up, give it a nice shake, and I'll drop it back down here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take each set of risers. We have our front risers, our back risers, and our control lines. And I like to get my control line on my index finger. I bring the back riser on my middle finger, and then the front riser on the finger below that. And notice how they're all in separate fingers, right? So I'm going to do the same thing here. And I'm just going to get any twists and shakes out. Run that all the way up to the top. Boom. Okay. Now the most important part of the skydive canopy is your pilot chute. If your pilot chute does not extract your canopy, nothing's coming out. So I'm gonna get this nice and flat. I'm gonna run this right up to the edge here. Make sure it's out, and I'm gonna give it just right over the head, pull, right? And what we want to be able to do is when we do our tests, the pilot chute is extracting air. And as a backup, we can also check and see that this is colored. In my case, it's black, sometimes it's purple, etc. So, we're gonna go back, we're gonna run those lines. Okay. And we got them in between each fingers, and I'm gonna step to the side here, and I'm going to put my fingers through, and as you can see, I have them on each set, right? And what that allows me to do is just take a look and make sure that each one is separated from each other. So I'm gonna take my hand, I'm gonna run this up onto my shoulder, and we're gonna start with our nose cells. Now, I have a 7-cell canopy. You may have 9, it's different. And we'll just count that out together. So in my case, I'm gonna have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And if you have 9, you're gonna have 9 there. I take my hand here, I give it a nice shake like that, and then I bring those in between my legs, okay? So what I'm looking to be able to see is that the canopy, I can see the middle here, I can see all the lines are separated, right? And I'm going to start my flaking process. Now I start my flakes by separating the A's and B's from the C's and D's, and I'm just going to go in here with the slider down for a moment just to get those first sets flaked out. Now I'm going to take my slider and I'm going to put it right on my shoulder so that I can continue flaking the rest of the canopy. So I'm going to go back to those between the A's and B's. And again, if you have a 9-cell canopy, you're going to notice there's going to be 4 attachment points here for each set. That's okay. In my case, it's only 3. And then I'm going to take the B's and I'm going to lay them on top of the A's, and move out to the C's, right? And so what we're seeing here is I'm very clearly able to see all my lines folding on top of each other, so it should have a really nice opening. Okay, so we're gonna do that for this side, right? Folding on top, and I can just cut them down. Boom. Sweet. So now I'm gonna bring my slider back down. And for the slider, what we wanna make sure is that it is fully cinched out, right? So it's not cinched up at all, because if it is, then that would mean it would be coming down a lot faster. So it's nice and wide, and it's ready to be primed. So we're gonna quarter our slider. What that means is I'm putting them in all of their corners, the front, back, and the sides. And now I'm going to take the outside part of the canopy and start folding that over each other as the final piece before we start to fold this guy up. Right, so what we're seeing here is we're very nicely able to see all of the flakes we did and all of the folds for the outside tail. And now I'm going to bring my hand to the middle of the tail, and usually there's a warning label here, right? I'm going to wrap that around the whole canopy, right? Boom, boom. Okay, fold this up, and you can see I still have my nose here. Some people like to push it in. I just keep it as is. And we're gonna bring these tuck tabs right on top of each other. So I'm gonna get my hand to be able to see these tabs here, and these should line up nice and symmetrical. I'm just gonna run my fingers down to here. So for the top piece, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3 nice tight folds there. For the bottom, a little bit looser, but the same concept. And what that does is it keeps it in a nice cocoon. So now I'm gonna take my hand and I'm gonna go right back here, and we're gonna lay it down. We don't need to throw it down. We just give it a nice flop. Boom, see? And it stays good. So I'm gonna pull any bridle and the D-bag out. Okay, and once again, I'm just gonna do another backup check on my pilot chute and make sure that is cocked, right? So I'm gonna come here, boom, do a check, boom, good. All right, now we're gonna start to fold the parachute up. So I'm gonna get my knees right at the grommets, right on top. And I'm just gonna start slowly compressing air out. You can kind of see I'm using my arm to compress, and then my hand gets the final amount. And what I like to do for my canopies is I line this hand up with this stitching right here, and I just do a single fold, right? Okay, and we'll do the same thing for this side. So nice and slowly, just getting all that air out. Okay, take my hand, little fold. So now you can kind of see we're starting to get that taquito going. Next up, I'm gonna grab the top here. I still have my knees down there, and I'm just gonna lay on it, start to get that air out. This is where I can think of how sick my next jump is gonna be, reminisce on how great the last one was, while I keep folding this guy up. Okay, just getting it into small little taquito size. Yep, boom. All right, now from here, we are ready to start our S folds. So what I like to do is I take the middle here, I get a little cut right there, boom, drag, and then a half cut there, okay? So the lines are gonna stay taut. I'm gonna keep my hand here, and then I'm gonna grab the bottom of the parachute right here and do another fold on top of that. And then one more. So what we should be able to do is prime this to be able to go into the D-bag, right? Okay. I'm gonna get some excess out. But you can see I'm not letting go, keeping it nice and taut, but this is ready to go into the D-bag. So what I usually do is I take my arm like this, get my hand over, and I slowly bring the D-bag under, wrap it around one side, get my knee there. And this is the hardest part, especially if you have a canopy that's too big for your D-bag, right? This is why sizing up is so important. But I'm slowly getting that guy in. Okay. Now you can see it's a little bit larger, but that's okay. What we're gonna do is now we're gonna take the D-bag, we're gonna place it on top. Notice how my lines have stayed taut and they're not squiggly everywhere, right? Nice and clean. So I'm gonna press some of that front in, press some of that back in, and we're gonna start stowing. Now I have a semi-stowless D-bag. This is really important if you're watching this. It may be different with what you have. But for me, we're gonna start with this center stow. So I'm getting it nice and compressed. I'm gonna take that rubber right there, get that rubber band right through, okay? And then I'm gonna take all of that line, try to get all the excess up to the top, and we're gonna make a little bite, okay? So this first bite is gonna come right here, and we're going to double stow, okay? So we're gonna bring it around, and then we're gonna do a second one. Okay, that is double stowed. Now we're gonna move to our next one. And the way we do this is we're essentially wrapping it so that as it comes out of the parachute, it's just nicely coming out in order. It's slowing the deployment, right, the opening, but it's gonna open super nice. Once again, we're gonna take all of that excess, bring it up, and for these, I usually put the ears just past the outside of the D-bag. I'm gonna wrap this guy around once again, right? And we're gonna double stow it. Wrap it around, double stow it. Now I'm turning it around again, right? Because you can see we're going 1, 2, and then for 3, right here. Grab all that excess, put that ear just past the end of the D-bag, wrap around, and double wrap. Wrap it up, boys and girls, wrap it up. Cool. So now, with the semi-stowless D-bag, we have these flaps. And what we're going to be able to do is pick this up and essentially bring all of our line to the side there. Okay. We're going to give it about 10 inches space, and we're going to start our coils. So I bring mine right down to the bottom, and watch my hand movements here. I'm going to have my right hand holding the first set. My left hand is simply just going to bring it around like a figure 8. I'm not folding on top of each other in terms of twisting. I'm simply just grabbing, pulling right on top. Okay? So now we have that nice figure 8. Now I'm going to take these and I'm going to press this down on top of each other. I'm going to close this up on the sides. And I'm going to close these fronts. Look how easy and fast that was. Super nice. Now we're going to get ourselves ready to place this into the rig. Okay? So I'm going to bring this right over, and it's really important I'm folding this over. I'm not twisting it by any means. It's simply flopping over, okay? Now we're going to start with our risers. We're going to get those into the rig sides here. And what I really like to make sure is that these are nice and straight, right on top of each other, right? And then I'll place these flaps in and get that locked up. And do the same thing on the other side. Okay, right on top. You want to make sure your brake ones are closest to the rig, right? Because those are going to be the ones coming out right after the fronts. Cool. So now we're going to move around to the back here. We're going to bring our pilot chute up. And we're going to go look for our closing loop. So we're going to take our power tool, or our closing tool, get that right through the closing loop. Okay. And now for the rig, we're just going to nicely make sure the lines are kind of in their own box corner, and we're going to fold that right on top of itself, okay? Now this is a vector rig. It's really important. If you have a Mirage, it's totally different. But for vector rigs, I'm going to bring this right over. I'm going to start with the bottom loop, bottom grommet, okay? Clean this up a little bit. And notice that my bridle is out to the right, and we'll get to that in a moment. We're going to move to the top. Okay. And then for this bridle, I'm going to just do a single fold here so that this is coming up, and I'll show you why in a moment. Get to the right here. Fold that guy right over itself. And go to the left. Sweet. Okay. And the reason I did that single pinch fold right there is because now my eyelet is nicely able to just go right into the closing loop. Boom. Okay. The piece is going up. I can take my closing tool right out. We are locked up, baby. So now I'm going to put some of this excess in the top there, and we're going to start to get our pilot chute ready and into the BOC. So I'm going to do a single quarter fold here and just place that right down the stitching of the rig, and then do one more quartering fold. And essentially what that's allowing us to do is have a really nice entryway to the BOC. Okay, so from there, I'm now just going to make sure that the BOC is, the bridle is completely free and clear of anything like that. And we're going to take the pilot chute, and in my case, this has a nice little carbon fiber handle. I'm just gonna lay it down nice and flat, kind of like a pancake. And with one side, we're gonna lay that down, all right? Okay, now we're going to fold it in half. And the way I do it, everybody's different, but the way I do it is a 3/4 fold on each side, and then a half fold from the top. Now what that allows me to do is to start folding the bridle on top of itself here and get it ready to be placed in the BOC. Now I'm going to leave some extra because as we push it in, it's going to be placed on the inside there. But from here, I'm going to do a half fold there, or 3/4 fold, and I'm going to fold that right over itself. And we have a beautiful pilot chute. As you can see, this is where we're going to use that extra and get that right into the BOC. Right? Super, super nice. Perfect. And that's how you pack your skydive rig. Again, one more time, we'll just do a check, make sure our 3 rings are on each side, and we are good to go. Hopefully you enjoyed and have fun, pack, practice, and have a great time jumping. See you out there. Later.